First and foremost, my name, Cedric. Second, I have to talk really low, otherwise my neighbor's wall is right there. She'll start pounding on the wall. But I want to give you a quick introduction to who I am and what you will expect from this channel. I run a clothing line. It's called Perfect Definition. It's based upon the concept of how life is defined through my view and the views that I've kind of referenced from just talking to people or experiences, moments, just anything, you kind of name it. I just take all that information and collectively just put it all together and just, try to put it in a clothing line. I've been at it for like 6 years, maybe. I think it's been 6 years of just hard grinding. I've been grinding, trying to get it afloat. A lot of pitfalls, a lot of mistakes, a lot of setbacks, a lot of blown money, anything you can name it, to get to this point where I'm finally able to bring it to the masses. My mother used to sew. That's kind of where I got the love from it. Probably I'd say like 8 years old. My mother used to make her Sunday dresses, like in the dining room downstairs in the basement, and I just gravitated towards that. I thought it was fascinating that you could, make your own clothes. I was just a kid. Don't knock me. I was like, oh, you don't go to the store and just buy it. That's crazy. But then when I got to become a teenager, I still loved drawing. I loved sewing. I always tried to touch my mom's sewing machine when she wasn't there, and that didn't go very well. I used to get on punishment a lot for it, but I got teased a lot for wanting to do those things, so I kind of just basically abandoned it, and I went to go play sports like all other kids did. I played basketball, football, baseball. I sucked at baseball, let me tell you. I think I might have been the worst baseball player ever in my life. But after I graduated from high school and I went on to leave my hometown. I'm from a little town called Lima, Ohio. When I left Lima, I still didn't pursue it. I didn't touch it, think about it anymore. I just wanted to survive. I wanted to, go party, be young. And I got a job, pretty good one. And I went to college, put myself through college. And then I worked for this particular company for a couple of years, and I made a ridiculous amount of money. I went from making $15, $16 an hour in a factory at 18 to 20 years old, and I was pushing very close to 70,000. That's a lot of money to me at the time, but it was time consuming. Like, I worked in an office. I always had to go walk around with a computer. I had a laptop everywhere with me, a company phone with me, and I just was like, the money isn't worth it. I'm miserable. So we used to get laid off in the off season when it got cold, because I worked for a lawn care office in the company. So my boss at the time comes to me and he says, well, there's a guy who's about to retire. And I had just graduated. I just got my bachelor's. And he's like, if you stay here for one more year, you're going to stay at your same salary. But then year 2, when he retires, I'm going to move you into his position. And it was going to bump me from a little bit under 70,000 that I was making. It was going to bump me to 6 figures. It was going to be like 103 a year. and I would be in charge of this particular section of this or group of guys. I would have my own group of guys that I would be in charge of, and that December when we were laid off, because we still got I still got like $500-600 a week on unemployment. I was not complaining. So I took a look at myself and where I was, and that's when I started to think about what I used to love as a child. And I started to really think about fashion, and I'm wanting to go back into it, but I knew that I could not go and work this job and try it again, because this job was basically 7 days a week, 10 and a half months out the year. I was 7 days a week, and I just was like, oh gosh. So I called my mom and told her how I was feeling. I mean, I lived in a nice apartment, and I don't know if anybody really knows about Columbus, but I lived up by the Polaris Mall. At the time I had 2 cars, closets. I could buy anything I wanted. Closets full of shoes, clothes, everything. And I told my mom, I was like, man, I'm thinking about quitting. And she's like, oh, well, why? I was like, Mom, I want to go try to pursue what I love to do. And she's like, oh, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job. And I was like, but they're offering me about 103 in 2 years. And she's like, oh, that's a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, I know. She's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, Mom, I'm probably going to quit and just downsize my life so I can focus. And she's like, well, go. That's it. She's like, go. Just, as long as you can still stay afloat. So I go back to my job and I tell my boss I want to quit. And he tells me the story of his son actually working there in the same position that I was in, and his son quit. And he's like, go out in life and try to find your niche so you don't look back with a bunch of regrets. And he's like, if it doesn't work out for you, you will always be able to come back here. And I said, okay, all right. So I quit that job. I moved out of that apartment. I actually sold everything in the apartment, my TVs, my furniture, all of my clothes, everything. And then I ended up going to go live with one of my homies, my homie LA. She's like, you could, crash on the couch, because she was passionate about, anything that had to, deal with art, coding, whatever, you name it. So then I ran into the problem. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm going to name it, how to do it, or anything, but I was excited. So I bought a laptop of my own, because I had to get my one back from the company. I bought a notebook and a pencil. And to be honest, we were sitting around one day and we were just high. I'm talking, we were really, really high. And I was like, I think I know the name I want to name it. And she's like, what do you want to name it? I was like, what about Perfect Definition? She's like, I was like, Perfect Definition. I was like, define your life. And it just clicked instantly. I was like, that's it. But I was like, I don't like how it's spelled. So she used to have this bookshelf right off to the side, and we grab a dictionary. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the dictionary, and you know how when you look at a word, there's the syllables for the pronunciation right underneath it. And I'm looking and I see it's PERFIKT, and it's got the little asterisks above the letters and everything. And I'm like, that's how I want to spell it. No hesitation. It flows to me instantly. And then I got it tattooed. I'm like, that's it. I don't even have to debate it. It just came straight to me. And then after that, I blew a lot of money, income taxes. I was buying the the printers where the 8.5 sheets would come up and you would heat press it on, and then they would wash off in like a couple of weeks, and then I blew $1,500, and then I'd sell it back to someone for like half the price on Craigslist or eBay or something. And I just kept making mistake after mistake. And one day she says to me, she's like, dude, you got a screen print. And I'm like, what is screen printing? She's like, that's what this is. And I'm like, oh. So now I'm going to Walmart, I'm consumed, I'm just touching it. But I looked up the equipment. I'm like, I'm gonna buy some screen printing. Dang, this equipment costs a lot. And then there's this huge process, and then there's ink and screens, and you need to develop them. And then I tried developing them in the sun with a piece of glass outside on a picnic table, and I was successful for the most part with what we had. I actually built a screen printing press out of wood, all wood pieces. I found Ryonet, and I seen this machine that he had, and I built it. And I took a bunch of cheap wood because I didn't have any money. I was broke. I'm sleeping on her couch, so it was pretty bad. And I built this press, and for the most part, I built screens out of wood and everything, and I try it, and it works. I'm okay, screen printing. So, for like a year, I had to shut it down. I had to go and afford all that equipment. Now I'm back to 2 jobs. I don't have a car, but I'm still working 2 jobs. We're working the same job together, and then everybody says one day they go, let's all just move to California. And I'm like, what the and at the time I was on unemployment. And I said, she's like, I got a school check coming. I got this much amount of money. I'm like, well, I got this much amount of money. Everybody's like, oh, well, okay, let's leave Friday. So pack up and leave on a Friday. I get to California, and then that's where it just changed everything. Once I got there and seen that atmosphere, and what blew me back was Skid Row. When you think about, at the time when you thought about Los Angeles, you thought about just this beautiful place, glitz and glamour, and the traffic was overwhelming to me. The trip was fascinating to actually drive and get there, but once we got there in the middle of the night. I was like, this is too much. The city's too big. I can't handle this. But the more that we drove around, even trying to find a hotel, I had no clue. But I remember Beverly Hills 90210. I remember the Pasadena, the Rose Parade or whatever. I remember, so I was like, okay, Pasadena looks like it's a nice place. So I Googled Pasadena, and we're just like a couple miles away from there. And we get there, and then I remember being in the hotel sitting there, and I just got this painstaking headache. I'm just turned over. I'm like, gosh, this is too much for me. I have no clue what to do. I don't know how to look for a place out here, and I want to go home. I was like, I want to go home. I'm 3,600 miles away from home, and I was like, I want to go home. But I stuck it out. And while we were down there, I realized that I have to go by myself, because at that moment, everyone was looking at me for the direction. And I just knew, I was like, you know what? I can't be responsible for everybody else and try to do what it is that I need to do. So eventually we headed back to Ohio. And when I got back, I was pretty depressed. It hurt a lot. But so I got back to it, and I just got my own car and started working 2 jobs again. Moved out, got my own place, and by then I understood where I needed to be at to develop it. So got a laptop and Photoshop and just YouTubing a lot of things, just every day, just YouTubing. How is this? How is this done? How is this? How is this? So I'm looking at a price point and I'm like, okay, in order for me to get all of this equipment, I'm gonna need about like $6,000. So I say, well, now we gotta shut it down again. So I gotta go. Here it is, another 2 jobs. And at the time, man, I had like 2 jobs making $10 an hour. So that was hard. One job I'd go over here and work 10 hours. The other job I'd go over here and work 10 hours, and 30 minutes in between, I was sleeping like 2 hours a day. A lot of days I was depressed. A lot of days I was sleeping in the car. Even though I had an apartment, I just didn't feel like going home. I kept toothpaste in the car, deodorant. I brushed my teeth at my next job, and every lunch break or every 15-minute break, I tried to take a nap or take my shoes off, and it was miserable. I was miserable. It was hard, but everything that I needed to purchase, I was able to get it, and that feeling kept me going. When the goal was reached in my savings account and I could go buy a press, and then the goal was reached and I could go buy a flash dryer, and then all of a sudden I've got the money for the sewing machine, and then I've got the money for the ink, and I'm going to go pick it up, and then I'm buying the squeegees, and then I'm buying the emulsion, and then I'm buying my exposure unit, and then before you know it, a year goes by and I have everything. And then I just started to design. When I designed, I took all of my notes, like I a lot of sayings that I say to myself, a lot of things that I would gather from a photo. Like a lot of times I would be out in public, I would take a photo of someone or something, and that would lead me to an emotional expression, and those were the expressions that you will see on a lot of my clothing. I think I have about, right now, backlogged 500 to 800 designs, slogans, expressions. They're all just backlogged in my phone, and you'll see me spill them out. Some of them are directed towards the seasons, so not too much, obviously, too soon. And then here I am, I'm completely done. And then I run into an issue with the t-shirt supplier, the hat supplier, and not knowing where I'm going to get this stuff from after that. Because I used American Apparel, and then we all know they got sold off, and then they got phased out. And but they're still here to this day. I think they are. They're still here. But American Apparel's founder, or CEO, he is now Los Angeles Apparel. Look at the site. You can always, but we'll remind you of what American Apparel used to be. So, and the stuff that he makes is fantastic. But then I started to run into supply issues, not having enough money. A lot of these blank garment providers, these sites are to the masses. So, when you're going up against a bigger company that can come in and buy 11,000 shirts, it's pretty much over. So you may pick a shirt and then you're done. But after that, I had to go back to the drawing board to find everything that I needed at places where it was always in stock. And that's when I came to the realization that I was like, you know what, I'm a skilled sewer. So I want to do something different. I don't want to do screen printing anymore. So I took all my screen printing equipment and I sold it to someone on eBay. And 10 12 boxes, it's gone, it's out the door. And kept all my sewing machines and bought a couple new ones that are actually in here. And I have one more machine that should be here. It's a big delay. It's a nice hefty price, but should have it in a couple of days. And fast forward, I had a daughter, got a little girl named Pippa. You will see her. She's with me a lot. She's with her mom right now. They went to the park, so they're asleep. They got bit by a lot of mosquitoes, so they're mad. kept my studio apartment, which is this apartment, or run everything out of here. And then eventually in a few more months, I will phase it out into a building, but rent is just high. So my neighbors really don't bother me that much as long as I'm quiet. I will get off, take my daughter to the park, let her sit on the bed and watch TV, and there's no furniture or anything in here except the bed. So she'll watch TV, sit back, relax, and I'll do what I gotta do because I'm trying to build a better future for her. So I think that on this channel, you won't see the greatest animation or anything in any video. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I don't care to do it. But I will give you the information, and I will give you the tools to apply it to what step you're at to help catapult you to get your doors open. My shop is ran on Shopify. I think everybody almost uses Shopify that I know of, all big brands, and to gravitate towards and understand these suppliers, because you have to think like maybe one day you will become $1 million company or even $1 billion company. So you have to have these suppliers that have an abundance of this that is readily available. I do offer there are some custom pieces that are one-offs to help separate me from. I try to educate you on buying seasons, when you're supposed to purchase this stuff, because it's the middle of summer. If you buy t-shirts in the middle of summer, they're going to be impossible to get. You look at sites like Alpha Broader, blankstyle.com, all those places, all those shirts, small, medium, large, sold out. And when they're sold out, they're pretty much going. So a lot of times you do have to purchase them from straight from the brand, their warehouse, if they offer it, because some of them don't. But I don't want to talk too much. I kind of really want to close this out. I just want to introduce myself, my brand, and hopefully the information that you do gather from me helps you, like I said before, create what it is that you're trying to create and the steps that you're trying to go to. All the information's free. It's just me sharing what I went through the past 4 years and getting to where I'm at now, and being able to say, hey, with the resources that I have, I can fulfill thousands of orders with no problem whatsoever. I'll discuss some of the equipment, some of the machines I buy. Some of the reviews will suck. Some of the reviews on my machines will suck. It won't be the greatest, but it'll just be honest information from just the most dumbed down point you can think of, that just helps you write it down on a pad, research it, and it should help you out a lot. So if you're interested, give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe so you don't miss out. I'm going to try every single day to upload some sort of information that helps you. It may not be every day, but I'm going to try my best to upload it every single day I really want to just help people so they can kind of speed up the process and make their dreams. If you're passionate in fashion, or you think it's not possible, it is. And I just took the harder route by gathering the information myself and making a lot of mistakes, wasting thousands and thousands of dollars by trying to find the quickest route possible. But I'm just going to end it on that, and just stay tuned. And if you made it to the end of this video, I want to say I appreciate it, and I'm out of here. I gotta go. But take care. Really, I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.